Hi, I'm Mike, and you're watching Spiritual Combat. And the title of today's show is Why Homosexuality is a Sin. And, you know, uh, because it's being pushed so hard today, you know what I'm saying? And I've heard the debates about it, and people don't understand why. Well, what's bad is just sex, this, that, and the other, stuff like that. So I'm gonna go in and break down why it's a sin on a on even on a scientific level, on a spiritual level, and of course, the Bible says it's a sin. Okay, so we're gonna just kind of break it down on all those levels. Um, but to start with, what you have to understand is, and I heard it put this way on a radio show one time, and it was a good statement. Um, Homosexuality is not a sin. Homosexuality is not bad because it's a sin. It's a sin because it's bad. So it's a sin because there's something bad about it. And that's all the stuff in the Bible that God lays out. Like, I remember coming up in the church. It's like they told you not to do stuff, and they didn't explain why. And the way they would explain why, they'd be like, "Don't do this, okay? Why? Because God don't want you to." I was like, "Okay, I guess God just no fun." That's how you be thinking. But with some studying, a little more studying, you realize God's telling you to stay away from certain things because these things will destroy you. There's something bad about it. Okay, even with the dietary law, he says, don't some of the foods we're not supposed to eat are shrimp, crab, lobster, pork, stuff like that. But then when you look into the scientific research about those foods are bad for you. They break your body down. You can see all the scientific data about how bad those foods are. So it's the same thing with homosexuality. There's a reason it's bad. Now, I'm going to start off with the scientific side of it. And on the scientific side, when you look in the Bible, it says after you have sex, it tells you to clean off and stuff like that. And it tells you homosexuality is bad and all that. Why? What is it? What is it about sperm and stuff like that? Well, with sperm, when sperm goes in a woman's body, that sperm is a foreign whatever invader, whatever you want to call it, in a woman's body. And if you look up what sperm does, it's literally on the attack. It's looking for something to go in and release its contents into. And what they found out scientifically is that sperm, when it goes in a woman, after that woman has sex with that man long enough, that sperm gets into her bloodstream and actually changes the woman's DNA. It can affect her mind. It changes her mind. That's why you see a lot of these women who've had sex with a whole bunch of men. They be crazy. Okay. Um, when you have when a man has sex with a woman, the sperm that goes in there, the in a woman's vagina, she has fluid that fights that sperm off and protects her. And one of those sperm will make it to the egg eventually or whatever. But in order to protect the rest of her body, she has, um, you know, whatever uh, bacteria or whatever you want to call it up in there that fights it off. Okay. And kind of protects the rest of her body from it because it's a foreign thing in her body. Okay. When you have anal or oral sex, that's not the case. So whatever sperm goes in there goes straight into your bloodstream, and it affects your mind. It changes your mind. And this is, just Type it into Google and look at the scientific research reports showing how this stuff goes in, and it actually affects your brain. It changes how your brain works. It changes your DNA. Okay. So the other thing, they were saying how it causes cancer. I haven't done a whole bunch of research on that, but I've heard a lot of solid reports on that it could cause cancer. And it's funny because you have stuff like what they call sex magic and stuff like that. If you look at what pimps do, when a pimp gets a new woman, they call it turning her out. And he'll have all types of lewd sex with her and do all types of, I'm not going to get graphic with it, but he'll have anal oral sex with her a whole bunch in order to turn her out. And that's make her mind align with him. Okay? So you got all that. Now, let's go into a more spiritual, more mental aspect of why homosexuality is bad, and not just homosexuality, but any type of sex outside of what God has ordained. But the other thing is there's there's some documentaries out there, and both of them only went halfway through it. Okay. But it's crazy. One is called Bug Chasers, and the other one is in Europe, and I forget what it's called. But it's this, oh man, what are those people called? They have a name for them. But anyway, both of them kind of are pretty much the same. And what it is are these people, they use, they use methamphetamine, and the one I saw in Europe, they were both, what they did were both the same. But the one in Europe, they were saying how this is the reason why a lot of those apps have grown so fast, like Snapchat and a lot of these other apps where you could kind of creep around and sneak around on them and all this stuff, is because largely driven by these cultures of their homosexual people who take methamphetamine because it does something to their sex drive, makes it even crazier. And like in one weekend, they'll have sex with over like 15 men and stuff and do all this crazy stuff. And basically their whole life is driven by, homosexual sex. You know what I'm saying? And in San Francisco, whatever, they call it bug chasers. And the reason they call them bug chasers is because they purposely go out and try to get HIV, AIDS. And the reason why they want it is because they're more free to just go out and do what they want. And you think I'm lying? Go watch it. Type in bug chasers or something like that. I forgot what the term for it was over there in Europe. And they got all these code words, like if they do heroin, they call it slamming, Hey, you slam and all this stuff, because they slam the not heroin, the methamphetamine in there. And they interviewing one of these guys, and the guy's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's like when you're doing the gay sex and you're slamming them drugs. He's like, it's like something. And see, he didn't even know what he was talking about, but I instantly knew what he's talking about. He was like, it's like, so you get these ideas that are coming that I could never think of things to do that feel so good while you're, having gay sex or whatever. So whatever the heck they doing. And what he don't know is he's doing stuff. He doing sex magic. He getting in contact with demons from the other side, giving them ideas to do crazier stuff. And they were saying like where the average heterosexual man would have sex with an active heterosexual man who's very active in a lifetime might have sex with like 9 to 15 women, and an underactive heterosexual man might have 1 to 3. Okay, these guys have is like from 500 up into the thousands, like gone. Just, and you'd have to watch this thing. And they were saying, one of the guys was saying, yeah, when you come to this, whatever that area is that that district they live in Europe, and I'm in England. It was in England, and I imagine it's the same thing for in San Francisco. He said, yeah, if you talk to 3 guys out here, I could get the third guy will be a bug chaser or whatever that term they had for these people over there in England. And one of the dudes was on his way to the club in a taxi. He's like, oops, like that. Because, I ain't gonna get too graphic, but his butt was worn out so bad that he couldn't even control himself. So he went on himself and he had to go back home. They use tampons and diapers because they so worn out back there and all that. So it's just like overcome with lust because a man got a sex drive. Now, for lesbians, they got a term they call lesbian bed death syndrome. And what that is when lesbians get together, there's this thing that happens where they just don't have any sex anymore. So they just came up with a term for it called lesbian bed death syndrome. The other thing with the lesbians is they said that they have the highest domestic abuse or violence rate. Physical violence is the lesbians because, women are emotional and whatever. They were saying with these, with the homosexual relationships, I guess with the men, they said the infidelity rate is 100%, 99 to 100%. That's the infidelity rate when these men get married and stuff. They don't stay, And then the divorce rate is somewhere out of this world too. It's almost 100%. So you can see why they push for this stuff, because in this Greco-Roman beast system, stuff like that makes a ton of money. The lawyers are making money. The medical people are making money. All these people are making money, and nobody's putting it out there, what's going on. And then the other thing is, these people are, nobody's going to put it out there because they're in fear. Like some of these facts I've told you, these people are in fear of somebody shutting them down, like the doctors. Like one of the doctors said, yeah, I'm not going to come out and, like the cancer thing. That one actor, I think it's Michael Douglas. He said he used to do a lot of oral sex on women, the same way, and he said he knows that's why he has throat cancer. And then a couple weeks later or whatever, he came back out again and took that statement back and said, "Oh, I didn't mean that," because there was a big uproar, But yeah, there's a ton of money to be made when people are destroying themselves. There's money made in the drugs, in the medical, in the legal. You're keeping the cops gainfully employed, with the domestic abuse, all that stuff like that. But then to go into a more spiritual aspect of it, which you come to find out is majorities homosexual people have been molested when they were young. You find that's a big thread running through there. Um, Irritated Genie had a tough show to listen to about this. I mean, it was a tough one, and it was just about rape and molestation in the black community. Of of children, people below 20, and people were calling in, and there was some tough stories. It's tough, you know, and somebody homosexual, whatever. I really don't deal with people like that, but I'm not like a lot of people are, screw 'em, they need to die and go to hell. I'm not like that, you know, but I don't buy into, you need, yeah, you need to encourage them. They're just like you and all that. Yeah, they are. But like, I'm just saying, I don't sign off on that sin, because God, in the Bible, God said that's an abomination. And there's a reason why it's abominable. But on the same note, I understand. Like, if something like that happens to you and you get molested, and then people say, there's a debate, can you be born homosexual? Yeah, I think you can. I absolutely think you can, because the Bible said we're all born sinners. That's just another sin you could be born with. But, so I'm not like downing them like a lot of people do. I understand there's a reason why people are that way. But on the same note, there's a battle you got to fight. That's a fight. Like me, I struggle with lust. Homosexuality is just another type of lust, an extreme perverted lust, And some people are just like, if you choose to go watch them documentaries, because it was too much, and then you get further in, and then they just showing stuff that I was like, I don't even want to see that. But if you watch one of them, one of the things you'll see is like, man, you realize these people base their whole identity on an act, So they identify with a sexual act. That's their life. And some of these people are just overtaken with it. And I mean, they mind blown. They hooked on the methamphetamine and on the sex, and it's crazy. Like, they got a demon in them. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that is why that's why he came. That's why we have to learn how to use them, how to practice prayer and supplication, earnestly, humbly seeking him and begging and wanting to get right, and knock till the door falls down, and just go, seeking you shall find, and all that, and watching stuff like that, watching some of these people addicted to drugs and all that stuff, and then getting a true understanding of that word and why Christ came, you know what I'm saying? What he's really saying in there. Because, I grew up in the church, and the church is, they're telling you all types of, but they don't break it down practical to where you understand this simple fact right here is that, look, what he's telling you in this book is trying to save you from all the danger and all Satan's traps he has out there to make your life painful and short. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that point gets conveyed in these churches and with a lot of people who teach the word. They're not conveying the fact that, hey, this thing is going to really help you avoid these snares and tricks that are out there. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so, and then on a more spiritual level with homosexuality is, for men, it feminizes the man. He thinks in a feminized nature, he'll give in to anything. You know what I'm saying? It's he's overtaken by something. He's in, when he feels this emotion, he has to act on it. You know what I'm saying? So you're controlled and led by lust. You know what I'm saying? And that's weak. You're not fit for the battle, for this spiritual combat. You know what I'm saying? So, same thing for a woman. She's putting on masculinity. A lot of these people have mental issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was another thing I saw with that video. Like, especially a lot of women, they just weren't right. There's a lot of depression in the homosexual community and stuff like that. And what a lot of them were saying in the video is it's because people aren't accepting of it and this, that, and the other. It's because of the way people treated us. But that's not so, man, because like some of these people live in San Francisco, and way back in 96, when I came in the military, I was at Travis Air Force Base for training, and we went to San Francisco and drove through that gay area, and it was like you went into another country, like world. And if you weren't holding hands with somebody of the same sex, you look weird. You know what I'm saying? And that was back in 96. So imagine today, you know, and they say like, they were saying Atlanta is a bigger gay, you know, it's more gay than San Francisco is now. So imagine, so all that to say this, to say that, oh, you're being ostracized and that's why you're depressed, you can't, you know, I don't think that's valid. Okay, then something I skipped was disease. Again, with normal sex between a man and a woman, you know, in a normal sexual way, a woman's vagina fights off infection and stuff like that. Okay, for the most part, you know, but when you're doing anal oral, if somebody got disease, boom, it goes straight into your blood. That's why when AIDS popped up, it was among the homosexual community. Like a lot of these diseases manifest in the homosexual communities. Okay? But that's another thing. Man, there was a video of this dude in Atlanta, and he was like, he said he was standing in line and somebody was saying something. But anyway, in the video, he was like, yeah. He's like, some dude called me and was like, yeah, they're talking about you behind your back, this, that, and the other. Okay? And anyway, the long and short of it, people were saying that this dude might have HIV. And the dude in the video, he was like, so what? Who cares? Everybody got it. So it don't matter. I could care less. I don't care if somebody. So it's like that's their mindset now. Like they could care less about HIV and stuff like that. And I mean, and it's sad because in one of those videos, you saw this one dude. He got so overtaken with the drugs and the sex that he had to go into a rehabilitation clinic or whatever and get off the drugs and all that stuff. And then because he was one of them bug chasers, and then he realized like where it had led him. Now here he is. He got AIDS or HIV. And man, this dude was just crushed, man. Because he came to the realization of what had happened. Because at the time, he was probably being led by a demon or something. So now he had come to the realization of what had happened, and he was just broken. And and it's sad, and that's how Satan do you. And one of the guys in that video was telling a story about how there were these two men had HIV, and they started having sex, and the next thing you know, a couple weeks later, they had both died because whatever, I guess the HIV had combined into something stronger, like a strong form of it, and just boom, knocked them both out, killed them. So, and it's like when you watch these, like I didn't watch them all the way to the end and nothing, but you hear them talking about stuff that in their communities is normal stuff, like the killings. Yeah, like the violent, emotional killings. It's like normal. Yeah, we know about that in the community, but it doesn't make it outside of it. Like one of the guys was saying how it was a cop, and the cop was like, yeah, I can always tell when it's a homosexual killing because there'll be like 30 or 40 stab wounds in the person. Yeah, so it's crazy, man. So, and I guess, what he was saying is like all that cheating and all the crazy stuff going on. So, yeah, them shows, man, they begin to show you what hold on one sec. All right, there we go. Yeah, they're called bug chasers, and they call it giving the gift. And let me see. Okay, so yeah, what I'll do is just put on a quick CNN interview with a guy, and okay, just okay. And this is the other thing for these people. The life expectancy for these people is, I think they said like 40 years old. That's it. And they're gone because of that lifestyle, man. It's creepy. All right. And that's something, it's like you realize that you can see the death on them. But anyway, so we'll listen to this interview. All right, that's not an interview. Let me see. See that's the whole documentary, The Gift. They and I see there's a bunch more that have come out since I watched it, but where's it? Okay, so here's the interview right here. So we'll pull this up.
Welcome back now. Believe it or not, there are actually some people who want to get the AIDS virus. The name on the street for some of these people is bug chasers, and the virus itself they call The Gift. It's also the name of a new film that's getting a lot of attention. It's about a subject we are sure you may find uncomfortable, even shocking, but it's also a subject we should not ignore. Here's a short clip from The Gift.
I have one friend who is always like, I want to be like all you guys, you all have it and I don't. What's wrong with me? I want to go out there and get it.
They want to be in the in crowd.
It definitely is not a gift to get it. I would definitely be gifted if I didn't have it.
I have no desire to give this gift to anybody.
Some people have even said, I'll give you your dad.
Joining me is the filmmaker who created and directed The Gift.
So yeah, that's the documentary, and it's yeah, you just looking at the folks, you could tell that they, that their minds are blown and that they don't realize they're just overtaken by a demon of lust. That's it. Okay, so here's a trailer for it. Let's see.
Give me the gift. Then I don't have to worry about it no more.
I want to be like all you guys, you all have it and I don't.
A lot of people that are getting curious.
No, I'm not afraid of AIDS.
The virus has become eroticized. It used to be something very negative. It's now something that defines them or makes them different. Conversion parties that happen where people advertise to become infected.
Deliberately saying, yes, I want you to give me HIV. I want you to give me AIDS.
But why do they call it bug chasing?
I don't know. Well, it's a bug. The HIV is the bug.
I stumbled upon the idea of bug chasing. Kind of went like, I was 19, I felt lost, I wanted help, I didn't have it. Maybe it would just be easier if I would go ahead and find someone who was positive.
I decided to go ahead and throw a conversion party to become HIV positive. Only positive people allowed at my party to give me their positives and leave. Hopefully get the gift so I don't have to worry about HIV anymore.
Most of us think we're already infected, so what do we have to lose?
How could you be so stupid to be testing positive today?
Given the history of prevention, I don't know if it's a miserable failure, but it's pretty close.
The point is, it's not working. The statistics are going up. We need something different.
Finally got it. Now I don't have to worry about, do I have it, do I have it? Not anymore. I can breathe again.
Some people have.
Okay, so there you go. That's what I was talking about. It's like I guess all the parties or whatever they have, you gotta be, because that's what one of the guys said. You gotta be HIV positive, and otherwise that you can't go to any of these freaky orgies they have or whatever. So that's what it's all about. And like I said, over in England, it's even advanced more to where they tie it in with social media, with Snapchat and all this stuff, where they just real fast hook up and all this stuff, all this craziness. Like one guy was talking about how there's this spot out in the woods out there in England somewhere where you just go out there at night and people be out there and they just do whatever. And they don't know who the heck it is out there. It's crazy, man. Like, I couldn't make this up. Like, it sounds crazy. And you don't hear about it, but because they know how crazy it sounds, so it just stays in among that community. So, but all that to go to say, okay, so say you got some dude who's having sex with like 500 people in a lifetime. I mean, think about that. That's one person. And then that other person's doing that. So when some new disease hits, think about how fast it's gonna spread. Like those would be the first people wiped out. You know what I'm saying? So in just a lot of ways, and you can't make sex your identity. You got to make the word of Yahushua your identity. The word of Jesus, that has to be your identity. You know what I'm saying? It can't be any of this carnal stuff on earth. An emotion of lust. That can't be your identity. But anyway, my name is Mike. You're watching Spiritual Combat, and have a nice day.